Hi, and welcome to the fourth episode of dollbellieknits, the vlog or podcast where you can learn about using what you have on hand or reusing or recycling things to make gorgeous and practical knitwear. Despite the woolly cap that I have on, it's actually nice weather outside for a change, so it's good. Spring is actually on its way. But the hat is for the terribly bad hair day that I'm having, which I would like to send a shout out to my girl Amy G. She is Knit Pearl Spin on Instagram, and she definitely understands the utilization of hats when you're having a bad hair day. So, hi. Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of do a quick update on some of the things that I've talked about in the previous episodes. Firstly, my mom's socks for her birthday, the Effervesce pattern that I have been working on. Last episode I talked about how I didn't think I was probably going to make it to the end with the wool. I'm not going to make it to the end with the wool. I will be posting pictures throughout the episode where it's appropriate and when I talk about these things. So you'll see in one of the photos that I tried the sock on and it only went halfway up my foot. So although I have the pink yarn that I was intending on using for the toe, that would be a really drastic change in the intention of the sock. Also, when I tried it on, it fit me comfortably, and that was using the new larger size measurements as well. So if it fits me comfortably, and I wear between a 7.5 and an 8 women's US size, it's most likely not going to fit my mom. She wears a 9, sometimes a little bit bigger, and a wide as well. So I'm just afraid that at this point it would be really snug and not fit her, and you know, I want it to fit her and to be nice. So what I've done is I've taken the socks and I've put them away in their ice cream pot. I've ordered replacement wool, just the white, and I will finish them for myself and just keep them for myself with the original plan of doing the alternate toe color in pink. So again, like I said last episode, this is just a lesson learned. I'm trying new things in 2018, specifically in regards to sock knitting. I normally knit with very large needles, and I was trying to bring it down a size, and it hasn't gone swimmingly, but it hasn't been a complete disaster either. I definitely enjoyed the pattern, enjoyed the fabric that it's making with the sock, enjoyed the way it looks. So there's a lot of things about it that I'm enjoying, and I'm sure that going forward I will be able to persevere and probably get a lot more enjoyment out of what I'm doing with sock knitting. Because like I also said in the last episode, I definitely not only was using larger needles than is standard sock knitting fare, I basically was doing vanilla sock and just knit all around, and granted with some really beautiful yarn, and it does make me happy. I just want to test myself. I just want to try something new, something different. You know, you're always a student no matter how old you are, so I wanted to give it a go. Having said that, I will be going to see my mom in a little over a week, so I need to get socks done for her and have it ready to present to her when I see her. So what I did was I just went back to the way that I normally do things. I got, oops, it's my other knitting pot. These are my 3.75 millimeter needles. These are the ones that are from Hobby Lobby. These are a Hobby Lobby brand, and I do enjoy these. The yarn gets snagged a little bit on one of the joins here, but I think that's probably just something you might have to put up with every once in a while when you get, you know, a particular set of needles. But Yeah, these are Hobby Lobby brand. I'm not sure what they're called. Knitology, maybe. I will definitely put all the information about the yarn, the patterns, the needles, the people, the places, all in the show notes like I do, as normal, at the bottom of the video. So this is the Premier wool-free self-striping sock yarn that I normally use. Again, I've probably knitted a pair in every colorway that exists. This happens to be Utah, and it's actually really nice. I think the camera's picking up the color pretty well right here. It's red purple, and it's got browns and some white splotches in it as well. And as you can see, it's actually making a nice stripe pattern on its own. So yeah, this is where I am. I got about a week and a couple days, so I need to fly through these, and I'm confident I'll make it because I can do this without looking at this point in time. So yes, that's where I am. It's not my only work in progress, but it is the one that I am going to work on until it's finished. The other thing that I wanted to talk about since the last episode and give you an update on is where I am in regards to the sweater that I decided to upcycle. Where we left off last time, checking my notes. Yeah, last time I had basically gotten to the point where I had completely unraveled the sweater and had hanked up all the wool by wrapping it around the top of my kitchen chair and then tying little bits of thread in 4 different places, just like you would see when you buy wool from the shop and dyers and things like that. If you'd like to check that out, go to the last episode, episode 3, and you can see all the photos and the progress that I made up until that point. So what I did after I completely unraveled the sweater and I hanked up all the wool, it was time to soak it. And I soaked it, I had it like 3 batches. I did it in 3 batches because there actually really was quite a bit of wool. So I just soaked it in warm water, and I soaked it in the bidet. Because seriously, what else am I going to use that thing for? Like, I wash my hiney in the shower like everybody else. So that bidet just sits there, and it is for soaking objects. So yay, using what you have on hand. I just soaked it in batches in warm water, and then I hung it over a tension rod inside the shower so that it could drip and that some of the weight would help relax the wool. That was really funny looking, and I'm sure my husband was confused when he went to get a shower in the morning about why there was all this black woolly stuff hanging in the shower. But that was actually a process that worked out really well, and you'll be able to see from picture to picture how much more relaxed the yarn became. So I soaked it one time in just warm water, and then I allowed it to hang on the rod, and then I let it dry completely. And then, you know, yes, it was more relaxed, but I would have liked it to be even more relaxed than it was. So I Googled, you know, how to basically unwiggle yarn or how to make it relax, and I found some pretty interesting threads and suggestions, and I definitely will put that in the show notes because the conversation about how people would recover wool was just fascinating in and of itself. A lot of people, I think, who are baby boomers, who have been born either during or slightly after World War II, they responded with their memories of how their parents used to make them unravel sweaters so that they could either reuse the wool or they would, you know, lengthen the sleeve of the sweater so you could continue to wear it. It was just really utterly fascinating. And I do think we have lost some of that storytelling from the past, from our elders. So that kind of makes me sad, but it also makes me aware that whenever I'm around older people, older than me anyway, I definitely listen to them and what they have to say, because you never know what nugget of information that they're going to come up with. So anyway, on this particular site that I saw, they recommended that you soak it with some fabric softener, or even some hair conditioner. So I went with the fabric softener because the hair conditioner seemed like I would like kind of thick for, I wanted it to be able to disperse evenly through the water. So, oh, Mr. Sun. I went through the process again with the three the three sections, and soaked them in the bidet with some fabric softener. Hung them on the tension rod, waited for them to completely dry. And that definitely relaxed the yarn even more. And I think it was good to go at that point in time. I'm not going to get it perfectly straight because it was inside a sweater for however long it was inside the sweater. But I was really happy with the outcome after soaking it in the fabric softener water. So that was definitely worth the effort of going through that. And after it was completely dry, I weighed it all. And here is the moment you've been waiting for. I know you guys haven't been able to sleep. I recovered, where's it at? On my notes. Oh, I didn't write it down, but I know what it is. I recovered more than 250 grams of wool from this sweater. It was 258 to be precise. And that was for 5 pounds or $6.50 American US dollars. So I think that was definitely worth the bargain and worth the effort. It's definitely a wool variety. It soaked really well. It blocked up nicely. So I'm convinced that it is wool, probably not completely wool, but wool and maybe some nylon in it. And again, 250 grams for 5 pounds. I think that was a good idea, a good bargain. So what I wanted to do next, though, is that I really wanted to figure out exactly what was the weight of the yarn, not weighing it, but, you know, is it worsted, is it sport, is it DK? By looking at it, I really felt like it was a sport weight yarn or a DK yarn. But I had to figure out what it was. So again, Dr. Google, I went on and I searched for ways to figure out what your mystery yarn is. And I did come back with a couple different websites and blogs and stuff to look at. The first thing I looked at was Ravelry, and they had a chart that gave you wraps per inch, and the house phone ringing. We don't answer that. It's a telemarketer. Wraps per inch, but then it also gave you a recommendation of how many stitches you should get per how many inches, you know, a gauge recommendation. But it didn't tell you what size needle to use to get that particular gauge. So that wasn't really helpful. And I did email Ravelry and ask them, you know, what was up with that. I'm waiting for a response, but I'm kind of thinking that might be a chart that they don't even use anymore, because when you go into Ravelry and you search for help with gauge or weight of your wool or yarn, that doesn't come up as a result in your query. So I'm thinking that might have been an earlier chart that they might have had out, and it's still, you know, available, because once it's on the web, it's always on the web, but it wasn't easily accessible through the Ravelry search engine. So I'll let you know what they say, because I know they'll get back to me. They're pretty good about that. But I'm not going to put that in the show notes then, because I didn't think that that was very helpful. I found some other websites and blogs, and ultimately what happened was I did the wraps per inch method. I took a wooden spoon that I have and I marked an inch in pen, and then I wrapped it, you know, around the spoon, because apparently it doesn't matter how big a diameter that you're using, it's definitely how many wraps that the yarn is going to go in that inch. I don't completely understand that because it's mathematics again, totally not my area, but I'm just going to go with the flow. So I got 14 wraps per inch, and then I did do some swatches. I used a 3.25 millimeter, and then I used a 4 millimeter needle to do a stockinette stitch swatch. And I also did a little bit of garter stitch just to see what the wool would look like done up that way. And in the end, I do believe that this is definitely a DK weight yarn. I got, like I said, 14 wraps per inch, and I got 20 stitches, or 22 stitches over 4 inches with a 4 millimeter. And that seems to fit the category based on some of the websites that I was looking at, which I will include in the show notes. So I am ridiculously happy that I got 250 grams of wool for 5 pounds of DK weight, because that you can use that for quite a few things. And I'm definitely thinking that I will enjoy the sun for a moment. I will repurpose that for in a accessory of some kind. So sport weight DK weight is a good weight to go with accessories. Right, okay. So again, in that vein, continuing on the story, this sweater has such a long story. I want to maybe design something or look into designing something of my own to repurpose the wool. I'm not sure. It's not something it's something I've never done before, again, because there's usually math involved, and I don't want to do math. But I at least would like to try some different stitches and see how they look with the wool. So, put my thing aside. I have been trying to get to the library. Again, I love using what you got on hand, or whatever's free. And the library is free, and there are some excellent library systems out there. And yes, you can get knitting books from there as well. So, been trying to get to my library, but I either miss it or it's not open. Hasn't been open this week. I wanted to get a stitch book, you know, one of those really nice, pretty ones, have the color photos, basically like a stitch encyclopedia, so I could just give things a try and see how it looks. And I was actually getting pretty upset that the library wasn't open or that I kept missing it. I was just like getting completely bummed about it, because I am super excited about this process with this sweater. It sounds crazy, but it's kind of like watching a butterfly come out of its chrysalis. It's just, this is going to be something completely new and different, but the same. So anyway, that's my attempt at being poetical to poetry. Anyway, so I'm sitting in my chair where I sit every morning, and I knit and have my cup of coffee. And my recliner is next to 2 bookcases, which we are nerd people. We like to read. We have a lot of books. And so I'm thinking, you know, knitting, thinking, you know, wish I could have got to the library. I really want to get started on, you know, playing with this wool that I recovered, blah, blah, blah. I happen to glance over at the bookshelf. What's on the bookshelf? The Complete Book of Knitting by Barbara Abbey. I totally forgot I had this. I may not even have purchased it. It probably came from a garage sale, for sure. My husband probably picked it up and brought it home. And then I, you know, put it in the bookshelf with all the other things. So I looked at it. It's copyright 1971. And yeah, all the pictures are in black and white. But you know what? I love that. I think it's cool. Again, you never really know what you have on hand. Sometimes there's just little nuggets, little treasures that are right there underneath your nose. And I love finding something like that and then being able to use it and make it click and work. So I have this book. I'm still gonna go to the library and get me a color version because sometimes color is better for my eyes than black and white. Because I was really having a really hard time with that sweater and counting the stitches in the swatch because it was black. And I even had it on top of the white fabric that I used to take the photos of them. But yeah, probably time to get a new prescription. Still, so I would love to know if anybody else has this book on their shelf. I would also love to know possibly what the oldest knitting book you have on the shelf. So definitely please leave a comment in the comment boxes below. Let me know what the oldest book is that you might have on hand. If you happen to have Barbara Abbey's Complete Book of Knitting. And let me know what your favorite knitting Bible book is. I definitely could use one. It's not something that I've ever picked up. Probably because hubby keeps bringing home stuff from the garage sales and the boot sales, and if I look hard enough, I'll probably find something that fits my needs. So, yeah, I think that's about it for this episode. I apparently like to keep them short and sweet, which is okay. Definitely leave me a comment in the box below about what you might be working on. If you're doing any recycling or upcycling of wool, I'd love to hear your comments about books that you have on hand, how old they are, and what your favorite book is. And yeah, I will continue to keep you updated on the progress of the sweater. And I already have the next item that I plan on ripping apart and recycling. So perhaps next episode I will give you a sneak peek at that as well. So until next time, hopefully you get some sunshine like we have here and that you have lots of happy knitting. And I'll see you again. Bye.